I paid $3,500 for this E36 323 IS, and within 2 weeks of owning it, I spent $5,000 fixing it. In the last video, I played you a few noises that this engine was making, and I asked you if you thought it was rod knock. Now, despite the full brazen confidence by the person selling me this car telling me it didn't have rod knock, it did in fact have rod knock. Let's go ahead and pop the hood and see what's going on with this thing. For those of you who don't know, a 323 IS is supposed to be equipped with a 2.3-liter inline-6 engine. However, the previous owner had swapped it out for a 2.8-liter engine out of a 328. Pause. See, this is what I get for not making YouTube videos in a super long time. I just straight up forget what I'm supposed to say. First things first, yes, it is swapped with a 2.8-liter engine from a 328. However, the seller told me that the car also has heads and cams from an S52, which is the engine that's in the US spec E36 M3. Now, this ding dong also told me the car didn't have rod knock, so I have no real way of knowing if that's accurate. But considering how clapped the car is and how well it drives, I would assume that it's got some help in the power department. Now, like I said, this engine did have rod knock, but thankfully we went ahead and we've addressed all of the issues with this car, which ultimately led to a shop bill, which was $4,700. That $4,700 price tag included new rod bearings, a new oil pump, a bunch of new control arm bushings, and a plethora of other small items. However, you'd think after spending $5,000 on my $3,000 car that it would be completely problem-free, but you would be wrong. This thing is all f***ed up. So let's go ahead and go over what this thing needs now. First things first, I went ahead and replaced the plastic radiator with an aluminum Mishimoto radiator, but if you don't notice, there are zip ties holding this thing to the frame of the car. Now, reason being is that the OEM plastic clips that go here push this out just enough to be smacked by the clutch fan, so for the time being, it's zip tied. You probably gotta do something about that though. Also, one of the belts makes a bunch of noise. I'm not really sure which belt it is or if it's dangerous, but I should probably fix that too. Come over to the side and you'll notice that the window is down, but no, this is not by choice. This is because the window regulator on the driver's side has completely failed. However, when I bought the car, the window was actually up, and the seller had told me that the window just didn't work. Now, when I bought the car and the window was rolled up, I noticed that this plug here was not plugged into this section here. So in a moment of genius, I really thought that the seller was just dumb and that the window didn't work because it wasn't plugged in. However, the second that I plugged it in and rolled the window down, the window never came up again, and it has been down ever since. Now, the seller was generous enough to give me 2 brand new window regulators for an E36. Only problem is he gave me 2 passenger side motors. So I had to go and buy another one anyway. You also may notice that this car does not have any door panels. Again, the seller was nice enough to give me 2 door panels, both of which go to the passenger side, and no clips are included. So they're effectively useless, and I now have to buy a new set of door panels. Now, thanks to the lack of a window and rain that decided to show up in Southern California, you'll notice that the interior is a bit, moist. Now, I originally didn't really want a tan interior on this car anyway, so we're gonna end up replacing all of the carpet with black carpet, hopefully finding some seats that don't have holes in them, as well as adding a clean rear seat delete kit to the back so there's not a bunch of exposed metal back there. You'll notice there's no rear view mirror here. Yeah, one day I got in with the steering wheel, smacked the rear view mirror clean off the windshield, and it is now sitting on the floor in the passenger side. But that's not the big problem here. The big problem is that the synchro for first gear is going out. So if I am in first gear and I let off the gas at all, like to coast in first, it just pops out of gear. Now, BMWs are kind of notorious for having synchro problems with their transmissions, and then you not being able to buy the synchros. You got to buy a whole transmission to fix it. So that is kind of a big deal. Now, as we come around the car, you can see that it is cosmetically a bit of a basket case. And a prime example of that is here in the trunk, where it looks like somebody went to mount a wing and then decided not to give it to me. Seller, if you're out there and you had a wing on this car and didn't give me said wing, that's really not cool. I like wings. But we've got a little bit of rust going on around here, so we're probably going to have to address that at some point. So that pretty much covers all of the issues that are currently going on with the E36. Now, from a driving perspective, this car actually drives perfectly fine. It's got a little bit of lifter tick. One of the belts sounds like it might snap off, but it pulls really, really hard. And despite being rained on with no window for almost a month now, this thing still keeps turning on. So over the course of the next few months, we are going to be addressing all of the little things that are wrong with this E36. And eventually, once I start becoming financially responsible, we are going to be building this car into the ultimate E36 that you've ever seen. I've got some pretty awesome plans for this car, and I really can't wait to see them all come to fruition. So if you're excited to see where this E36 goes, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys some other time.